Wow. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. What a test match there we just had between the Springboks and the All Blacks over in Australia. And it ended with the final kick of the game as the Springboks won the game 31-29. Whew, dearie me. Needs to let the heart stop racing because boy, oh boy, that was a cracking game. Hi, I'm Paul. Go behind the New Zealand Sport Radio. I'll be a host while we have a quick quick reaction to that game. Look, kicked off with the Springboks having all of the early play. Some cracking hands from Am after a turnover with the All Blacks trying to play out of their own 22. They turned the off a turnover. They turned the ball back over, and Am lovely pass behind his back, and Delende goes in. And in an early piece, Pollard's kicking was not good. Let's be honest, and it was going to be a question mark. Would that kicking of Pollard loosen the game? And in the end, no, it wasn't. As LB says in the live chat there, geez, I thought we threw that one again. Look, some of the stuff, and there's going to be people from both sides having to go at the referee. Well, let's be honest, there normally is in a game that is so close. But I did a couple of good things, which I thought, which was first off, very early on March, the Springboks back for 10 for back chat, which helped to quieten down some of the chat that came his way, and not all of it by any stretch of the imagination. And also he stopped one of the support staff from chasing the assistant ref and told him to shut up and leave the assistant ref alone. He should have sent the guy off, red carded. That was the consensus in our live chat, but he didn't. The warning was enough in that case. And Con is joining me from his phone. Looks like he's around someone else's house to watch this one.
Yeah, no, I'm away down in Queenstown on a family holiday. I probably shouldn't be doing a 1 a.m. call, but the love for the game, eh?
Wow. Cracking game there with that one. Look, and in that first half, look, basically the All Blacks didn't get much ball, but every time they did, they came away with points, and that was key in their lead at half time.
Yeah, just maybe not enough. I mean, I think considering the All Blacks were 3-1 at the end of the first half, I think they should have, being only ahead by 6 at half was probably not enough of a representation of how good they're playing. Although, Springboks hang in there, it seemed to me that our sort of advantage at the half was more based on some brilliant play than kind of dominance in all areas of the game. But obviously a bit different in the second half, of course.
Yes. So, and look, in that first half, they only had 37% territory. So they spent most of that first half in their own half. They didn't. So, but when they went into those rare incursions into the South African half, they came away with points in that one. Trying to remember the tries that we scored. Obviously, with Sever Reece putting in scoring in the corner.
Yep.
A good finish by him in there.
Adi Savea try from the Bodie break was pretty amazing. Got me on my feet.
Yes,
that was an amazing try. And then Weber's opportunity, I missed it one at the end, was great too.
Weber scoring in the corner with the stealing the line out. Yes, that was opportunistic try to say the very least. But I think what we saw there was attacking that what they call it, I don't call it the crease or whatever it is, the join basically between the first defender of the backs and the last defender of the forwards, which is where Bowden Barrett attacked. And I think we saw from memory, I thought the Wallabies did that quite a bit against the Springboks as well. They clearly done their homework on that one. That was a set piece move through and through there. In the second half, and wow, the Springboks came out and played well. Actually, one of the points, I put a tweet out during that first half actually that said, whilst the Springboks are slow walking to lineouts, when they were actually playing, when balls in play, they were playing at pace. which is what they haven't done
Absolutely.
before. Previously,
It was definitely a
waiting to
different game plan.
Yeah.
This week, no doubt about it. It was they, and I think it's the right game plan for them. They were still doing a lot of box kicks and up and unders, and for good reason, and it gave them gains. But they were putting the ball through their backs in a way that we just didn't see last week, and it seems like that was the right balance for them. Obviously, it was the right balance, but I think even in the first half, when we were winning quite comfortably, they just seemed significantly better than they did last week.
Yeah, and that was again. It's because I think they were playing it with pace. We weren't waiting for box kicks very often.
Yeah,
which was a big difference. When they kicked, it was kicked again at pace, and we saw that take its toll with the whole front row replaced before half time. Now, one of the things the Springboks can do that very few sides can is they can bring on the entire world-class front row, and right. Which is a big difference we saw when the All Blacks brought on their bench. It was not as good as the starting front row, and we saw the scrum going backwards at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. To be honest, the movement and it almost secured us the win, right? Like we were very close. It was an extremely close loss, and the tactic to collect the ball within the third of a second of the ball getting put in the scrum by Adi Savia, because we were rolling back. I mean, the first half we were it was pretty good, but our scrum was in a terrible, it was in a bad position, and so they knew just get the ball out quickly, and it was a great way to nullify the Springbok weapon, or at least minimise it. And it almost probably was the thing that got us over the line, because we had the scrum on half and everything like that, but just the breakdown. It wasn't. Well, from my mind, it wasn't the scrum that it was the breakdown that lost us the game, really.
Yep, the
lineouts.
Only 91% of rucks won by New Zealand, whereas 95% by South Africa. The counter rucking and when those counter rucks happened was really,
and the penalties that they were securing at the breakdown as well. Yeah, it was. I'd say the losses. The loss was lineouts were terrible. The All Blacks actually seemed pretty fearful, and rightfully so, of the box, and they were too intimidated to throw it to the back, so they threw it to the front, and then the box knew what they were going to do. And that one in the 70th minute was a real pain. And then the breakdown, and to a lesser degree the scrum. I'm not sure, did they get any scrum penalties? I didn't know if they did. They certainly almost did, that's for sure. But what were the stats on the scrums, Paul?
Well, the stats of scrums actually had New Zealand winning all their scrums, whereas South Africa won 3 out of 4. So yes. So
the dominance was clear, but they didn't get any purchase off their scrum dominance, which is really, I think it was kind of smart, but not ideal long term, but kind of smart play by the All Blacks to rescue those scrums, and it probably almost got us over the line, but alas. Just to add to it, I think as an All Black fan, it was a very frustrating game to watch in the second half, because we were terrible, especially in that first 25 minutes of the second half, and we probably should have been down by a few more. I mean, the team that we just looked poor. We're getting dominated. I do say though, I kind of feel at the end of it that they deserved it. No doubt about it. I didn't think if the Springboks won last week, I wouldn't have felt they deserved it. I think that we were better last week overall. Whereas if we won this week, I probably would have thought we wouldn't have deserved it. It would have been a lucky scrape. That was just my little take there.
Got out of jail a little bit. Yes. Absolutely. Look, Turner Wright says Laurie Maines owes Am a decent apology, and LB makes a good point that Maines is a joke. Yeah, we don't listen to him on the whole, to be honest with you. So Laurie Maines is still a bit of a joke. So the Box did what they should do, which was taking threes after half time, and that put them a 25-20 up. The All Blacks then go to the corner. You're like, what are you doing? You've got a line out that you don't trust, and you show you don't trust it by no one jumping and trying to throw straight to the front prop, and rather than taking three, dumb move. So poor captaincy there from Ardy, I'm afraid, on that call.
If we hadn't had so much trouble with the line out, it might have been an acceptable call with 16 or 15 minutes to go. But because of that line out, it was clearly the wrong call. We were behind by 5 at the time. So scoring 3 points, 15 minutes to go, get another one. The Boks wouldn't have taken that, made the mistake, and they didn't, and that's why they got the points.
Yep. And then basically it was penalties either way at the end there. Except for the drop goal from Elton Yankees. Good to see a drop goal, but in the end, perhaps he should have actually missed it deliberately.
Yeah, that was a potential own goal. I mean, he should have probably kicked for and gone for a miracle try, really, for one of his players on the wing. But if the Springboks had lost that, and let's be clear, they were pretty close to losing it, then him not playing down, removing 2 minutes from the although in the end, to be honest, Paul, if you think about the equation, he gets that drop goal, there's 5 minutes to go, we get a penalty immediately after that kickoff, get the points. If it burnt down the time, maybe if that plays out exactly as it would, which probably wouldn't have, they wouldn't have had enough time. But I do agree with you.
Nocturnal Rights says that the South Africa backline was much better this week, rewarding their pack. Look, that South Africa backline got more opportunities this week, and they actually decided to play with them. Look, we've known they've got some really, really good backs, and what's really been frustrating is they haven't used them. So yes, look, no, they've got the players, absolutely, and they just used them properly. Using this week. Look, both sides really struggled with the injuries. And we also and half-time replacements. Scott Barrett obviously got pulled at half-time. Didn't really look himself after some clashes, particularly with Dwayne Vermeulen. We also lost, obviously, LaRue got pulled at half-time as well. He had a shocker. He hasn't been good for a few weeks, and a lot of people have been saying Fossey should have been given a go, the young guy, but didn't get it. Pollard was better. It's still not at his best. But yeah, he was better. But then in that second half, you've got we had Dane McKenzie coming on replacing Sevu Reece, was it? I think, or one of the wingers. Yep. Anyway, and suddenly you got Dane McKenzie on the wing. Also, we had Elton Yankees replacing Nkosi because of injury as well. So both sides had messed up back lines at the end there, which probably also plays into part of why things weren't quite as smooth or executed as well as they could have been by both teams at that point. You've got to say that those things do take their toll, and we saw it in the Australia game as well, where Australia ended up with 9 forwards on at the end because they'd run out of back replacements.
That's right.
Look, that's no excuse for it. Well, it's a reason for some of the play, not necessarily an excuse. You have to. It's part of the game.
Well, to be honest, one of the worst spots of play by the All Blacks was that very poor kick from Beauden Barrett, which was I'm not sure what that led to as far as points by the Boks, but it was I know it was a mistake. It was probably off the boot a bit poorly, and you can't win them all. But it was it seemed like it was a very poor timing with not so much to gain to kick towards the line in our 22. And went straight out, comfortably out. So that was a pretty disappointing moment. I can't remember what happened in the following couple of minutes. So I don't know if it directly led to points, but when Richard came on, he didn't really put his mark on the game. He might not have really had the time, to be fair.
Not had time, and also not had any play, and not been practicing much. Look, Beauden Barrett clearly had a call to kick the ball across. It was a bad, or he thought he had a call, and it was A, a bad call, and B, a bad execution. Because when he did it in the first half, Sevu Reece had space, and there wasn't a winger marking him. When he did it in that second half, and he kicked it out in the full, there was a winger there marking him already.
Yeah,
as well. So there wasn't space. it was a bad option and a bad execution of that option.
And if he knocked it on, it was like he was playing with penalty advantage. It was the type of kick that you'd see with penalty advantage. And if Severis had knocked it on or bumped it, then Box would have been all in, potentially in for a try. Which is, I guess, you live by the sword, you die by the sword occasionally. Like that first, the risky passing in the first sort of 10 minutes that led to a Box try. 1 times out of 3 that leads to an All Black try. So you just hope that 1 time out of 3 it doesn't lead to an opposition try. So sometimes playing those risky games, you've got to take the unfortunate consequence of those. But it didn't seem at the time like it was worth the kick anyway.
That's why it wasn't. LB says Richie starting may have changed the game. Oh, totally, it would have changed the game. They're different players. Now, I'm not saying it would have changed the game so that the All Blacks would have won, but it would have changed the game.
I think Bowden had a pretty good game over, for most of the game. Him that try he created was exceptional, and generally he was seemed good on D. So it would have been very risky to put Richie on. I don't think Richie. If you think that when they do Stuff or NZT or do the player rankings, I think Richie will get a NR, no result, because you couldn't tell. NA, sorry, just because it was just too inconclusive. He did get driven back in a couple of tackles, but fair play to him charging up against that Bok defence, which was really strong, and it gave the All Blacks a lot of trouble in the second half. Like there was a lot of moments where in the first half, the ball that went to hand in the backs generally went to players running onto the ball. A lot of the time in the second half, it went to players stationary who then weren't sure what to do sometimes, and that was frustrating to see. And then with the box rush defence and strong defence, they would generally get driven back, and there was and usually the worst part about it is with the Springboks, if we were in that position where we were losing territory on backline play, there was a very good chance it would lead to a turnover, and so that's something I need to work on.
Look, at the end of the day, I think the big thing that needs to be worked on is Victoria Wright says, look, you still have to muscle a win against South Africa, not like the Wallabies. At the end of the day,
that's true.
This came down to the forwards need to have more grunt about them. They've got plenty of ball playing skills, but there needs to be a bit more power, and their clear outs and their ability to counter ruck and stop counter rucks is where the Springboks got the upper hand in this game. Again, just like last week, it's their forwards. It's a forward-led game, and that's where this one came in. All Blacks' discipline on defence was really bad. Look, penalties count was 12-14, so 12 by South Africa, 14 by New Zealand. So pretty high by both teams. Yes, the referee's whistle ended up being a significant part of this game, but I'm not sure that. But I don't think that anyone's got any sort of clear grounds to say that he was inconsistent or doing one side.
I sort of felt like it was, based on the laws, not necessarily what we like. It probably seemed to balance out. Like, I mean, a lot of people blowing up about, was it Dialendi getting penalised for that touch? I saw a few people blowing up about that, and there might have been another. And also the charge down. That was, like, personally for me, like, not thinking about the laws, I thought that was a bit tough. But I guess from the laws, it's probably, understandable. He wasn't realistically going to contest it, so charge it down. But if it was on the other end, I would have been whinging at the TV, no doubt. I thought that, on the other hand, in another game with another referee, 2 yellow cards, deliberate knockdown, yellow card, and the dangerous charge down or whatever it is, potentially a yellow card. Now, I'm not saying it should have been a yellow card necessarily. I'm just saying that it could have potentially been one. And I think that with there was also some interesting play. And if you're following the New Zealand commentators, which are wrong half the time, then some of the play around the breakdown with the Springboks tacklers holding on, seemed like they won a penalty, but also got a penalty conceded against them, so it seemed that was a little bit tough. So it did seem to balance out from my point of view.
Yeah, absolutely. And Peter Del Agria in the live chat goes, professional fouls by the All Blacks. Absolutely. But also professional fouls by South Africa. Both sides, every side tries to get away with stuff. So yes, absolutely. The now and Elvis, there's plenty of stuff the All Blacks to get yellows too. Yeah, I say I think the ref was balanced. Peter de Guerre, ref was for the All Blacks, not at all. No, he was not for the All Blacks. The referee, as I say, missed stuff from both sides. Could have given cards to both sides. I mean, quite why Sia Khaleesi got knocked out, we don't really know on that one.
Yeah, I couldn't see it. I mean, I think it'd be very hard if that was deemed to be dangerous, whatever it was, unless it was something non-visible with the camera, because it almost it looked pretty concerning, and I felt a bit bad for the guy because it actually looked like a very, very, very serious injury, and I couldn't even tell if it was Retallick or Adi Save that actually might have injured him, and so he might have actually might have been something else, but I think in the first half, I think most people were justifiably frustrated with the Springbok slowdowns. On the other hand, have to admit that the problem is we look out for it now. So, if the All Blacks are going down, you assume it's a legitimate injury. If the Springboks are going down, you assume it's an illegitimate injury. And that's the challenge with that sort of cynical players. It's kind of the boy who cried wolf. The ref's telling you to get off the pitch, get the water carriers, get the medics off the pitch to the box based on their form. And then sometimes it might actually be a legitimate sort of injury.
No, I think he was saying all the water carriers to get off, not just not from any one particular side when he was doing that.
But they're also, but the ref's also standing over, understandably so, standing over the players when they're down, kind of going, get a move on. And I think the consequence of that for South Africa, hopefully, because I was a little bit outspoken about it during the game, is that they might have a situation where they're being rushed when they've got a legitimate injury because they have so many when they don't, seemingly. Sorry, Paul, continue.
No, that's what I was going to say. LB says All Blacks slow down the game at the end there as well. The irony. Look, all teams slow the clock down and take a knee when it's appropriate for them. It's the amount and volume of it that we've had recently. This game, I didn't think was slowed down overly. So I was comfortable with the amount of slowdown from both teams in this game. Unlike previous games we've seen, this one to me, I thought it was there. Peter goes, Colby was not there. Now, look, I agree. Colby is one of the best players on the planet. But if your answer is a winger, you've got to question: are you asking the right questions? Is my response to that one.
And the South African wingers played. The South African wingers played well,
Yep.
So Colby, would he have meant, would it have been more points? It wouldn't have seemed like it unless they would have given him more ball. But he's really good. Quagga Smith, he's got a lot of criticism, as Not Tony Wright says, recently. But he's played really well while he's been on for the All Blacks, particularly running ball. Not just particularly there. He's just been great.
Quagga Smith, the breakdown has been fantastic. The quite how you now fit in Peter Steph-Toy back into that side once he's back fit is a nice problem for the Springboks to have. So yes, the Mr. Slushy Tomato says the best game of rugby I've seen in 10 years. It was a cracking game. It was a very good game of rugby, and really got the heart going after a game that between the Springboks, between the Wallabies and the Pumas, where you kind of knew who was going to win the whole way through, and it was hard. It was hard to keep concentrating on the game. This one, you didn't have a problem concentrating on the game. It was exciting all the way through, cracking game, and it's 1:30 in, so it's my bedtime.
Yes.
So, thank you, Con, for joining me.
Just one second, Paul. Just before you jump off, sorry, I'll extend that bedtime for another 10 minutes. Just kidding. I just want to say, I think, it is. I do think it was a cracking game, and I think at the end of the first half, if you told me that we were going to lose, I would have been very, very disappointed. I desperately wanted us to win both of these games. I think at the beginning of when we were starting to chat about this, I sort of said I would be comfortable with an NZ win the first game and a Bok win the second game. I think what it shows at the moment is the New Zealand and the Springboks are bang on parity. We've got the same amount of points. I assume got to be based on the margins for the series, and I think it suggests that New Zealand and South Africa play each other 10 times in a neutral location, and we probably win 5 each, perhaps. But I would say that the silver lining for me is I think if All Blacks won, it would have papered over some serious cracks, and they need to address some pretty big deficiencies that were coming through. And I think that's what happened last week is we had different deficiencies, but I think our win did cover them up a little bit. That everyone said the right things. We've got to work harder. We've got to do better. But this game, All Blacks can't lose any games. That's the rule, according to the coaching team. And so they will get a bit of a shellacking in the media. And I think 2 years out from the World Cup, we need it more than we probably needed the win. So that's my take. The silver lining. Didn't want to lose. Really happy for the Boks players. Really happy for the Boks fans. Not so much the Boks media, but really, honestly, genuinely, pleased and for the win because it shows how good they are, and it's kind of given them it's kind of a deserving result for them for the effort that they've played in the last 2 games.
No, absolutely. Look, and one of the things that I've said consistently on this is that you don't become world champions, you don't become number 1 in the world by being a bad team. Look, they are a good team, absolutely. Now they've gone through a tough patch. I think we had Warren Brosnan on the channel, so go have a listen to that interview. Great chat to him. He talking about the number of players that have had COVID and the disruptions that they've had. It's not been the ideal preparation by any stretch. They didn't look switched on against the Wallabies. What's been good in the last 2 games is that they've looked switched on and actually there to play. Whereas against the Wallabies, they didn't look awake. So really good to see them back in that kind of mindset. And look, they are a cracking team. I think they're further along in their development than the All Blacks. And the All Blacks have got quite a lot of young players coming through who need more game time. Whereas I think a lot of these there's a few Springboks who are coming towards the end of their kind of time, and they'll probably hit that refresh cycle in a year or 2 or a couple of years. But cracking test match. Thank you everyone who's joined us in the live chat and put comments in there. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and all that kind of stuff. How can you as All Blacks be upset with the Boks winning? They actually played some ruggers, not soccer. I'm not. So we're not. You clearly haven't been listening. We're not upset with the Springboks winning. We think they thoroughly deserved that game. It was a cracking test match. Really enjoyed it. It's just well past my bedtime. Good night. Thank you, Con.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.